uric acid requires very little amount of water. So these are the main excretory products we have discussed. Next we have discussed about the kidneys. Kidneys, they play a very important role in this process of excretion in humans mainly. And kidneys, it has outer cortex as well as inner medulla. The medulla is again divided into numerous pyramid shaped structures called as medullary pyramids. In between the spaces of medullary pyramids, there is the cortex will extend. This is called as columns of Bertini. I am revising you for those who have missed the last lecture. So the numerous spaces are called as columns of Bertini. That is also a very important NEET question which is frequently asked about columns of Bertini. As well as we have discussed, in each kidney it has numerous nephrons. From the kidney, the blood vessels as well as nerves pass through a small opening that is nothing but hilum. All the vessels will enter as well as nerves will leave. Everything will take place through a process known as hilum. That is a small opening. And kidneys, they are red in color as well as they measure about 10 to 12 centimeters in length, 5 to 6 centimeters in width, as well as 2 to 3 centimeters in thickness. Here the mainly that is required. The numericals are required very much. And it appears in a bean shaped structure. So this is about mainly the kidneys. And we read about the nephrons. Nephrons are 1 million nephrons are present. And each nephron is again divided into glomerulus as well as renal tubule. The renal tubule is again divided into proximal convoluted tubule, distal convoluted tubule, loop of Henle as well as collecting duct. If you have missed the previous lecture, please go there, and once you see that, then you will clearly understand. As well as you have two types of nephrons also. Those are cortical nephrons as well as juxtamedullary nephrons. If the renal tubule or loop of Henle, it will extend very deep into the medulla, it is called as juxtamedullary nephrons. If it extends very little, those are called as cortical nephrons. Cortical nephrons are about 85% will contribute to cortical nephrons. Juxtamedullary nephrons, they are very few in number in human beings. So cortical nephrons only, it is more occupied by cortical nephrons. So this is about the last class which we have dealt. Next procedure which we have also discussed about vasa recta. From the efferent arteriole, there arises a structure that is called as vasa recta. Vasa recta means from the efferent arteriole which comes through it, it will lie parallel to the Henle's loop. That is called as vasa recta. So today we are going to discuss about mainly the steps that takes place in the urine formation. Mainly in the urine formation, there are about 3 steps. That is, first step is filtration. Next one is about reabsorption. Filtration, reabsorption, as well as secretion. These are the 3 main steps in the urine formation. Filtration, reabsorption, as well as secretion. Filtration first we will do. So in the filtration process, what is the main thing which plays an important role in filtration? The glomerulus, which is a part of the nephron. See, glomerulus I already told you. It has numerous capillaries. This is called as glomerulus. Whereas the outer cup-shaped structure which is surrounding it is called as Bowman's capsule. Last class we have discussed this is a part of the nephron. So the numerous glomerulus is present. So mainly the filtration takes place in the glomerulus itself. So it is called as glomerular filtration. So this filtration is called as glomerular filtration because the filtration takes place mainly in the glomerulus. It is called as glomerular filtration. And there is a how much amount of filtrate is formed per minute by the kidneys, that is called as glomerular filtration rate. We say GFR. Usually important NEET question which they will ask is, in GFR, what is GFR? Amount of filtrate that is formed in the glomerulus by the kidneys per minute. It is called as glomerular filtration rate. Normally the filtration which takes place in the glomerulus is called as glomerular filtration. As well as the glomerular filtration rate means amount of filtrate that is formed by the kidneys per minute. And it is about 125 ml per minute. Per minute it is 125 ml or it is 180 liters per day. 180 liters. Usually important NEET question. In how much ml is formed per minute they'll ask. Usually about 125 ml per minute is formed. Because it is measured in minute only, they'll ask you. Important NEET question. You should remember these numericals. As well as 180 liters per day. This they won't ask more, but here they will ask 125 ml per minute. So this filtration process mainly takes place in the glomerulus. About 1100 to 1200 ml of filtrate is produced by this glomerulus. 1100 to 1200 ml is produced by this glomerulus. As well as this step of filtration usually takes place by 3 layers. What are the 3 layers which help? Here see, this is glomerulus, this is Bowman's capsule. This glomerulus will have endothelium. As well as this Bowman's capsule, this will have epithelium. Epithelium of Bowman's capsule, endothelium of glomerulus, as well as there is middle one layer that is present, that is called as basement membrane. In between the glomerulus as well as Bowman's capsule, there is a layer which is present that is called as basement membrane. Basement membrane. So these 3 mainly will play an important role in this filtration process. Normally, the 3 layers which play an important role in filtration are endothelium of glomerulus, epithelium of the Bowman's capsule, as well as basement membrane that is present in between these 2. These 3 layers play a very important role in this filtration process. As well as there is ultrafiltration process also. Whatever the electrolytes which we consume, their filtration will normally take place. But for very small minute particles, there is also another filtration process that is called as ultrafiltration. This ultrafiltration usually takes place in the Bowman's capsule. How this ultrafiltration takes place? There should be some specialized cells that are present in the Bowman's capsule. The specialized cells which are present are called as podocytes. Podocytes. These podocytes in the this is Bowman's capsule. They are arranged in slit manner. Slits means what? Arranged in intrinsic manner. These podocytes, numerous podocytes are arranged like this in Bowman's capsule. These play a very important role in ultrafiltration of the small particles. So this is about mainly the filtration process. So what we have discussed in filtration process. First, urine formation takes place by 3 processes. That is filtration process, reabsorption as well as secretion. Initially in the process of filtration, it takes place in the glomerulus. So it is called as glomerular filtration. In the glomerulus it will take place. Outside of the glomerulus there is Bowman's capsule. These are the parts of nephron. You go to the last lecture and once you see about the parts of a nephron, then you will clearly understand. See, this is Bowman's capsule, this is glomerulus, as well as this is basement membrane. So maximum filtration it will take place in the glomerulus itself. So it is called as glomerular filtration. And the amount of filtrate that is formed, means after filtration there should be some amount of filtrate that is formed. That is called as glomerular filtration rate. The amount that is produced by the kidneys per minute. It is about 125 ml per minute as well as 180 liters per day. Normally they will ask 125 ml per minute or no. How much per minute? 125. Numerical very important. Please note down. And 180 liter per day. So in this process, about 1100 to 1200 ml also it is formed through the glomerulus. About 1100 to 1200 ml is formed. So mainly the filtration process takes place by 3 layers. That is endothelium of glomerulus, epithelium of the Bowman's capsule as well as basement membrane that is present in between these two. So these are the main 3 layers which are present. And when it comes to ultrafiltration process, the small amount of electrolytes also should be filtered. So this is by ultrafiltration process of the glomerulus, and it takes place by podocytes which are arranged in intrinsic manner in the Bowman's capsule. So these podocytes play a very important role in this ultrafiltration process. Next, what is the main apparatus which play a very important role in this GFR? See, this glomerular filtration rate, it should be glomerular filtration rate. It should be regulated by some process. That process is called as JGA apparatus. JGA means what? Juxtaglomerular apparatus. Juxtaglomerular apparatus. So in this juxtaglomerular apparatus, this plays a very important role in the regulation of GFR. Means when there is fall in the glomerular filtration rate, means for 125 ml should be secreted by per minute, the amount of filtrate should be formed is 125. If it is reduced, then this juxtaglomerular apparatus will release a substance called as renin. It helps in release of renin, and next what it will do, when it releases renin, this increases the GFR. When GFR is decreased, then this juxtaglomerular apparatus will release renin and in turn increase the GFR. How this all will happen, next we are going to see. So just for now you remember, juxtaglomerular apparatus help in regulation of GFR. This GFR will JGA cells, these will release renin and these will increase the glomerular filtration rate. And this JGA, that is juxtaglomerular apparatus, it is formed by distal convoluted tubule, that is DCT, as well as efferent arteriole. Efferent, not efferent. Efferent, I told you, efferent means from different organs to the nephron. That is called as efferent arteriole, as well as DCT also, both these two play an important role in formation of JGA. So this is about the filtration process. Mainly the juxtaglomerular apparatus will play a very important role in the regulation of GFR. In juxtaglomerular apparatus, it is formed by distal convoluted tubule as well as efferent arteriole. This JGA will release renin, which will in turn increase the GFR. So this is about the filtration process. This will full come under filtration process. So one step we have dealt in urine formation. The second step is reabsorption. Reabsorption. Usually 99% of the electrolytes, they are reabsorbed. Maximum electrolytes, because you don't want to lose so much of electrolytes. So this plays a very important role in absorption of 99% electrolytes are absorbed. Only the waste products which are not absorbed are sent to urinary bladder, and through that it is excreted out. But majority should be absorbed. Why they should be absorbed? Because they provide so much of energy for us. If everything is lost in urine, how you will get energy? So about 99% of the electrolytes, are generally reabsorbed. They are mostly reabsorbed. 99% of the electrolytes. So this reabsorption takes place by two mechanisms, that is active as well as passive. Active means it will take place against the concentration gradient. So against the concentration gradient means normally the electrolytes will flow in one direction, but this in active mechanism it will take place in the opposite direction, that is against the concentration gradient. So what are absorbed through this active mechanism? Sodium, glucose, amino acids, the main important glucose, everything we all need for our energy. Amino acids also we need for our energy. So these all, they are absorbed through this active mechanism. Through the passive mechanism, mainly water is absorbed through this passive mechanism. So this is about reabsorption. In reabsorption, 99% of electrolytes are reabsorbed. Why 99% are reabsorbed? Because or else we won't get any energy. Everything will be lost in urine. So 99% of the electrolytes are reabsorbed. And it will take place by two mechanisms, that is active mechanism as well as passive mechanism. In active mechanism, sodium, glucose, amino acids, these play a very important role in this active mechanism. Whereas water mainly, it is reabsorbed through passive mechanism. Next we are seeing about secretion. Usually there are three steps I already told you. First is filtration, reabsorption as well as secretion. In the secretion process, what will happen? In the secretion process, as it takes place in the renal tubule means what? The second part of the nephron. It is called as tubular secretion. Tubular secretion. In tubular secretion, maximum are secreted out. Like sodium, like hydrogen is secreted out, first one. Potassium, all these are secreted out. These are some waste substances which are not much of need for our body. So these are secreted out. Mostly, that is first one is hydrogen, next is potassium. Like that few ions are secreted out. So this will take place in the renal tubule. So it is called as tubular secretion. This tubular secretion will help in maintenance of ionic balance in the body. Ionic balance in the body. means it will play an important role in maintenance of pH as well as ionic balance in the body, this tubular secretion. So this is mainly about the urine formation. Urine formation will take place by 3 steps, that is filtration, reabsorption, secretion. In filtration we have discussed about the glomerulus, which plays a very important role, as well as in the glomerulus the epithelium of Bowman's capsule, endothelium of glomerulus and the basement membrane that is present will play an important role. Here important neat question is, mostly in this part they will ask about only GFR mainly. In GFR about 125 ml per minute, it is the amount of filtrate that is secreted by kidneys per minute, and in this GFR how it is regulated. This is also important neat question which they will ask. How it is regulated means it is regulated by juxtaglomerular apparatus. Juxtaglomerular apparatus will help in regulation of GFR, that is glomerular filtration rate. It helps to release a substance called as renin. This plays a very important role in the secretion, in the regulation of GFR. When GFR is decreased, this will increase the GFR, JGA cells. It is formed by efferent arteriole as well as distal convoluted tubule. Mainly you should remember about JGA as well as GFR. Here reabsorption you all know, 99% is reabsorbed. Active transport, what are reabsorbed, and in passive transport, what are reabsorbed. In active, sodium, potassium, as well, sodium, glucose, amino acids, all are reabsorbed by active transport, whereas passive transport only water. Remember this, only water through passive transport. When it comes to secretion, as it takes place in the renal tubules, it is called as tubular secretion. So tubular secretion usually takes place by hydrogen, potassium are secreted mainly, and this secretion plays an important role. This is important point. Remember, it plays an important role in ionic balance of the body, that is pH as well as ionic balance. So this is about mainly the 3 steps which take place in the urine formation. Next we are going to deal with what are the functions of each tubules. Mainly the functions of tubules. You all know that parts of nephron. First I will draw the diagram of a nephron, and then we will discuss about the parts of the what are the functions of the tubule. See, this is called as Bowman's capsule. This is glomerulus which is present, which contain numerous capillaries, and it has one efferent arteriole that is from another organs, from all the other organs, it is transported to the nephron. So from the nephron there arises, again from the glomerulus, there arises one arteriole called as efferent arteriole. From the Bowman's capsule there arises a highly coiled structure that is called as proximal convoluted tubule. From this proximal convoluted tubule there arises a U-shaped bend structure that is called as Henle's loop or loop of Henle. From this loop of Henle there arises another structure that is called as DCT, that is distal convoluted tubule. Proximal convoluted tubule, proximal, by the name only we can understand. It is from the beginning. Distal means it is ending, distal convoluted tubule. Both proximal as well as distal convoluted tubule, both are highly coiled structures. So from the DCT there arises a straight structure that is called as collecting duct. So this Henle's loop, when it is coming down, it is called as descending limb. If it is going up, it is called as ascending limb. Ascending limb. So mainly now what are the functions of all these tubules? That is very, very important for us. The main functions of the tubules are, first, this proximal convoluted tubule. The main function is maximum electrolytes. First they are absorbed in the glomerulus before we have dealt in urine formation. Here in PCT, that is proximal convoluted tubule also, 70% of the electrolytes are absorbed. 70% of electrolytes, they are absorbed through this PCT. This PCT is lined by simple cuboidal epithelium. Simple cuboidal epithelium. Cuboidal. We all have so many epitheliums, like we have cuboidal epithelium, columnar epithelium. But important neat question is, if they ask anything that is related to kidney, then we say it is cuboidal epithelium only. Any part of the kidney they ask, it is lined by, simply remember, it is by cuboidal epithelium. Maximum electrolytes are absorbed through this PCT, that is 70%, as well as water also is absorbed through this PCT. And it helps in secretion of hydrogen as well as potassium. Hydrogen as well as potassium are secreted out, and this PCT help in absorption of bicarbonates. Help in absorption of bicarbonates. Mainly they'll ask you, see, in PCT, the main question in NEET which they will ask is, which will absorb maximum of electrolytes as well as water. Means you should answer, they'll give you PCT, collecting duct, Henle's loop, like that. Then it is PCT. Hydrogen as well as potassium are secreted out, whereas it helps in absorption of bicarbonate ions. So this is mainly about PCT. When we comes to Henle's loop, one is descending limb which is coming down, one is ascending limb, that is which is going up. In the descending limb of loop of Henle, it is more permeable to water. It is not permeable to electrolytes. It is permeable to water. Permeable to water. It is not permeable to electrolytes. Means so much of water is secreted out. So much of water is secreted out through this. When it comes to the ascending limb, it is not at all permeable to water. It is only permeable to electrolytes. So much of NaCl is secreted out. It is not permeable to water. It is permeable to electrolytes. Electrolytes, okay? So in DCT next, simply you can, I'll tell you the simple way to remember. First I'll complete this. See, in distal convoluted tubule also, same like proximal convoluted tubule, hydrogen as well as potassium both are secreted out, as well as there will be same absorption of HCO3 minus, absorption of bicarbonates and secretion of hydrogen potassium. Same like PCT, here also in DCT also same like that only. But there is an extra point in this DCT which you all should remember. It helps in absorption of sodium as well as water. Sodium as well as water also. These help in absorption of sodium and water. Here the hormones which play a very important role in DCT are aldosterone as well as ADH. ADH as well as aldosterone. These prevent loss of water from the body. They prevent diuresis, means excessive excretion of urine is prevented by these two hormones called as ADH, anti-diuretic hormone, as well as aldosterone. Antidiuretic hormone is also called as vasopressin. Vasopressin. So mainly ADH or vasopressin or aldosterone play a very important role. When it comes to collecting duct, maximum amount of urea is coming out through this collecting duct to produce so much of concentrated urine. So much of urea is coming out. It helps in absorption of urea. Means so much of water is preserved in this. Means so much of water is absorbed in collecting duct as well as DCT, which help in more absorption of water. That is, distal convoluted tubule as well as collecting duct help in maximum reabsorption of water. Maximum electrolytes are absorbed through this PCT. So these are the main functions of tubules, what we have discussed. Simply you can easily remember. I'll tell you an easy way to remember. You all know the parts of nephron first. That is, glomerulus is surrounded by Bowman's capsule. Then highly coiled structure which comes is proximal convoluted tubule. Then hairpin bend loop. That is descending limb of loop of Henle, ascending limb of loop of Henle. Then again highly coiled structures will come. That is called as DCT as well as collecting duct. See, I am drawing here one line. This line is nothing but proximal convoluted tubule, distal convoluted tubule, Bowman's capsule, glomerulus, half of the collecting duct. Everything will lie in the cortex. Only the loop of Henle will lies in the medulla. Means what is outer cortex and medulla? Outer cortex is a structure of outside the kidney, outer cortex, outside part. These all will come under cortex. Only under medulla, loop of Henle will come. And there is a space that is present. This space is called as medullary interstitium. Interstitium means nothing but any area that is filled with fluid is called as interstitium. So this is mainly called as medullary interstitium. Because it is present in medulla, it is called as medullary interstitium. So how you can remember first mainly? Simply you remember like this. See, proximal convoluted tubule as well as distal convoluted tubule, they help in secretion of same it will secrete, that is hydrogen as well as potassium. Both are secreted out, hydrogen, potassium. It help in absorption of bicarbonates. Both will help in absorption of bicarbonates. Both will secrete hydrogen as well as potassium. Here one extra feature is for distal convoluted tubule, it also help in absorption of sodium as well as water. Important neat question. DCT help in absorption of mainly sodium as well as water. Here also water will be there, but here it is of most significance. So about 70%, where are important neat question, where are maximum electrolytes absorbed? They are absorbed in proximal convoluted tubule. So from the proximal convoluted tubule, there arises a structure that is called as Henle's loop. In Henle's loop, in the descending limb, it is more permeable to water, whereas it is not permeable to electrolytes. Simply remember, descending limb is more permeable to water. So much of water will come out. Here, this one, it is not permeable to water. So water will be present in the ascending limb. So much of it is impermeable to electrolytes. It is permeable to electrolytes. That is, so much of electrolytes will come out. That is NaCl as well as this. Then we have discussed about DCT. Finally, collecting duct. In collecting duct, maximum amount of urea is reabsorbed. because so much of water is preserved in this DCT as well as collecting duct. These both help in urine that is concentrated. Why you require concentrated urine? Because when you drink very less amounts of water, there should be concentrated urine that should be produced. Why it should be produced? Because if you consume very less amount of water and everything will go out through urine, then what your body will absorb? How much amount of water your body will absorb? So it can't absorb more of water. So then this will come into play. That is this collecting duct as well as this medullary interstitium. The spaces that are present, so this full PCT, DCT, collecting half of the collecting duct, glomerulus, Bowman's capsule, everything will come under the cortex. When it comes to Henle's loop, only the medulla is present in the Henle's loop, only it is present in medulla. The numerous spaces that are present are called as medullary interstitium. These numerous spaces are called as medullary interstitium. So this medullary interstitium, it is filled with numerous spaces. Any clear fluid filled spaces is called as interstitium. Because it is present in medulla, it is called as medullary interstitium. So this is about mainly the functions of what are the functions. We are going to deal with micturition. So what is mainly first micturition? First, the process of elimination of urine is nothing but micturition. This will takes place by a neural signal that is given by the body. That neural signal is called as micturition reflex. Micturition reflex. Micturition is one new term that is given. It is nothing but the process of elimination of urine from the body is known as micturition. The neural signal which play an important role in this micturition process is micturition reflex. Mainly first initially from the kidneys, there will arise a pair called as ureter. Normally the kidneys are 2 in number. From the kidneys through the hilum there arises ureter. This ureter will end in urinary bladder. Urinary bladder. From this urinary bladder there arises urethra. So first what will happen? The urine that is formed in the kidneys will pass into the ureter and it is temporarily stored in urinary bladder. This is stored in the urinary bladder till the voluntary signal is given by the central nervous system. Through the neurons, they will give them voluntary signals and they help in here the urine will be stored in the urinary bladder. The CNS will give the this urinary bladder first initially it relaxes the smooth muscles. The smooth muscles as well as stretch receptors are present. Stretch receptors are present in the urinary bladder. These stretch receptors will send signals to the central nervous system and then from the central nervous system again the signals are passed. When the signals are passed, it causes contraction of smooth muscles of the bladder. Contraction of smooth muscles of bladder. Contraction of smooth muscles. Then after contraction of smooth muscles of the bladder, there is relaxation of the sphincter. Relaxation of sphincter. After the contraction, there will be relaxation. Then from this urinary bladder through urethra, urine is passed out. So this is about the process of micturition. Micturition first. What is micturition? Micturition is nothing but it is the process of excretion of urine. So mainly it takes place by a neural signal that is called as micturition reflex. A neural signal is sent. The new name only is micturition. So mainly there are two pairs of kidney, ureter, urinary bladder as well as urethra. From the kidneys through ureter, the urine is passed out and it is temporarily stored in the urinary bladder. The stretch receptors which are present in the urinary bladder send the signals to the CNS. Then CNS again it will send back the signals and it helps in contraction of smooth muscles of the bladder. After the contraction of smooth muscles of the bladder, there is relaxation of the sphincter. That is urethral sphincter, there is relaxation, and finally the urine is passed out through this urethra. So this full process is known as micturition. How much? About 1 to 1.5 liters. About 1 to 1.5 liters of urine is excreted per day in a healthy individual. This is important neat question. First they will ask you about micturition, then later they will ask you about how much amount of urine is excreted per day. About 1 to 1.5 liters of urine is excreted per day in a healthy individual. If it is a very less amount of urine is excreted, then it is called as oligouria. Oligouria means very less amount of urine is excreted. And then if it is excreted in more amounts, then it is called as polyuria. This is extra information which I am providing you. Oligouria means very less amount of urine than that is required. Polyuria means excess than that is required. Oligouria as well as polyuria, about 1 to 1.5 liters, and about 25 to 30 grams of urea is excreted. 25 to 30 grams of urea. Urine is 1 to 1.5 liters, whereas urea is 25 to 30 grams. Important neat question. Numericals are very important in this excretory system. First the size of the kidney, next about how much liters, that is 1 to 1.5 liters of urine per day, as well as 25 to 30 grams of urea per day in healthy individual. If it is less, it is called oligouria. If it is more, it is called as polyuria. And you will get so many diseases also if the glucose is excreted through urine. Glucose is excreted through urine, you get diabetes mellitus. Diabetes mellitus. As well as if ketone bodies are excreted through urine, it is called as ketonuria. Ketonuria. Anything in the last you should specify like oligouria, polyuria, ketonuria, like that. Everything. Ketonuria means ketones are excreted. Oligo, less amount is excreted. Poly, excess is excreted. And if glucose is excreted through urine, it is called as glycosuria. Glycosuria. And it results in diabetes mellitus. Diabetes mellitus means nothing but sugar. We get that everyone is nowadays suffering from diabetes, no? That is nothing but glucose is present in urine. So this is due to excessive consumption of sugary foods or carbohydrate rich foods. So this is about mainly the process of micturition. In the next again chapter we will deal about the mechanism of concentration of the filtrate. What is countercurrent mechanism, as well as the disorders that are associated. More in specific we will deal about the disorders that are associated and what are the hormones that play an important role in the kidney. What hormones play a very important role. Okay.